Okay, so today is October 3rd, 2024, and I'm Sarah Holger, and I'm here with, what's your name?
MaryAnn Carrier.
And we are at your house just outside of Rushford.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yes.
So we're just going to set that there. And we're going to learn more about the Steinbauer ancestors.
Okay. This would be when my grandparents got married,
wow.
and it was a fairly large family.
It looks like it.
As you can see.
So that's that Joe Steinbauer, right?
No? I
Looks
think
like
so,
it.
yes. Yes, that's Joe.
So that is the guy.
Joe and my grandpa looked very much alike, so some of the pictures I have to
It's
look
hard to
twice.
tell. He
Yeah.
seemed to have like a lot of dark hair. But
Yeah.
So this is supposedly the guy then that worked on the farm when
my grandpa died.
and the what'd you say, Zabel? Is that how you say the name?
Right.
So he grew up. Is it Dan Zabel?
Dan, he grew up right next door.
And then the Joe Steinbauer was a farmhand for his.
My grandma Marie Zeman Steinbauer.
Okay.
My grandpa died fairly young he had a farm accident, and then he ended up with pneumonia and died of pneumonia, or a lung problem.
So what was your grandpa's name?
Conrad.
Conrad. So is MaryAnn was one of his daughters too, right? And she married a Colbinson?
Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
I play around on Ancestry, but I don't actually know the people, so it's kind of neat to okay.
So this would be my mom, that's Rosemary, and their brother, Robert or Bob.
Okay.
Bobby.
Okay.
So they had 3 children.
So can we start when the Steinbauers came here? Like they came from, was it Czechoslovakia or
yes.
Prussia or?
Yeah. They both did. So this would be.
And you've been on Ancestry for quite a while.
Yeah. Yep. So this would be Conrad, my grandpa, and his wife Marie.
Okay.
She came directly from Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
Well, she was a really good cook, and she went from a little town in Czechoslovakia, and then she was in Prague, and Vienna, and then to London. And she was a cook in each of those.
Really?
And then she came over through Ellis Island, so I have her Ellis Island records,
that's cool.
to Chicago, and she was a cook for the Wrigley family.
Huh. Of the circus?
Or the Wrigley gum.
Oh, the gum! And the ball field and stuff, right?
Yeah, yes, the Wrigley family. And she must have, we can't figure out how they met, because my grandpa was on a small farm in Hart, Minnesota.
Right.
So the only thing we can figure out, there was a lot of relatives and Czech in Winona.
Sure.
And she must have been visiting, and they met there, or we don't know if it was
interesting,
somewhat of an arranged.
Yeah.
During that time,
Marie,
or what?
and then how do you say the last name?
Zemanova.
But they go by Zeman now, right? Like that family
right.
line?
Yeah.
Because I know Kathy Zeman.
Oh, okay.
Because
I don't think we have any Zeman family here. I have families that I still communicate with in Prague.
Okay.
So.
Well, because what was that Eric Hoyland with the Hoyland Mill? He passed away a few years back. But Kathy Zeman and him worked together. It was like some sustainable ag stuff.
Okay.
I thought she was from right around here, but maybe that's not related at all.
Yeah, no, she came over all on her own.
Wow.
So there's no other Zeman families here that we know of anyway. And then John was, my great-grandpa was born in Czechoslovakia.
So he's 1850, is that what it says?
1850, yes. So he came over in 1869. With Johanna, and she died fairly young, and he remarried a Dvorak. So I'm related to a lot of the Kreisers and Dvoraks.
Kreiser. I was going to ask you about a Seth Kreiser over there at Hart.
Yeah, that would be a relative. There's just a zillion of them.
Okay, because I'd love to interview him. A friend of mine was out over there, and she talked with him one day. He was out checking his mail.
He's a... Yeah, Seth, he's on my... There he is. Seth Kreiser.
Oh, he's the next one down.
So he is Where'd he go?
He was the next one down there.
Oh, no wonder.
I'd like to talk to him too.
Okay,
I know he was getting up there
George
in
and
age.
Betty Kreisers and John Kreisers.
Okay.
So
Kreisler was also from Czechoslovakia.
Yes. If I go back to, let's go back here to Conrad again and Johanna's family. This Adalbert and Carolina Pfeiffer Kreisler came over from Czechoslovakia.
What year did they come?
Arrived in New York from Germany on the Australia ship, 1863.
63, okay.
Yeah.
Did they come straight to Minnesota, do you know, or were they also out
that
east?
I'm not sure of.
Okay.
I think so because there's just a
So many that
ton
were
of
around.
them here.
There is a Steinbauer, I thought, an Anton Steinbauer that shows up on the 1860 or 61 plat map.
Yeah, that would be
Is that like a brother or an uncle or something of John's?
get his family back up here again.
Like somebody came first and kind of scouted it out, it seems like, or something.
Yeah. His, unfortunately, so many were John.
Right?
John.
It's so hard.
Yes, so John, but there is, I think he had his brother was Anton.
Oh, okay.
John, my grandpa's brother was Anton. I wasn't sure about, I've got question mark 1869, but I wasn't that sure.
Yeah, because I just know that one plant map.
Uh-huh.
It's an earlier, it's like while the Civil War was going on or something, and it shows an Anton, Steinbauer Anton or something, and I was like, well, that's interesting.
Right, yeah. So, Marie's home that she came from, which was Besedness, it's just a little town, was about 10-12 miles away from where my great-grandpa came from.
Huh.
John Steinbauer. I checked him out on the map. So they came, they're different generations, so they came at very different times, but their families were very close back there.
Right.
So that was the only connection we've never been able to figure out how they met, or my grandparents and that. So Conrad's family, well, you can see he had a lot of brothers.
Yeah.
And some half because
Half-siblings.
of
he
John
remarried.
remarried Lizzie Dvorak after my grandma Johanna died. I think she died of the flu.
Huh.
She died in 1892. She was only 35 years old. So you can see Conrad and Marie there, and then my mom and Bobby and Rosie
Yeah, so Rose...
Colbinson.
Yeah, so 2017, and then her husband just died, last year?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he would have been great to interview. I didn't realize he was still alive.
Yeah. He was pretty sharp right till the end.
Yeah, he was like 101 or something.
Right.
Wow.
His, it's not going to go out this way. Okay, I lost it. Oh,
There's so many people. Holy moly.
Yeah. Rosie and Obert, and then they had their children. Now, their son, Tim, lived and farmed this old Steinbauer farm at one
really?
point. Yes. Huh. I did get a hold of him and talk to him, because he actually lived on the farm there, and asked him, did you see anything peculiar where the Underground Railroad might have hid people?
Right.
And he said no.
Huh.
He couldn't think of anything
It's interesting because so I went out with Laura Deering. I don't know, it was a few years ago, and she took me up that land that the state just acquired down in the valley. That's like a wildlife management area now. She took me up that road, and she said, from her understanding, that was what they were calling like the slave road. But Zabel, I keep saying his name wrong.
Yeah,
he took me on because he had permission to go on to his sister's land or whoever owns that land there. Yep. There's an old road when they kind of widen the blacktop road that goes up that hill. They kind of blasted out part of that hillside, but there's an old wagon road that goes up across that farm, and so he took us up there, and then I walked it a little ways, and he said that's what he was told was a slave road, not the other road Laura was on, and that road goes right across the Steinbauer property. So I don't know, but this is Joe telling him stories, and then he's remembering it how many years later,
right?
And who knows? Maybe Joe was pulling his leg. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Or he remember? Who knows? This is the old original farm.
Oh wow. Holy moly.
So, and I remember being up there as a child. I remember learning to ride bike up there, but I hadn't been up there as an adult. I wish I had gone up when Tim lived there.
No kidding.
Or figure out who, I don't even know who owns it right now.
So is this the one that's nobody's living in? Or is this the other farm? Because there's a farm here and
there's a farm right here.
So the one over here is the one Zabel took me on.
Right.
And then he showed me, supposedly the cistern on the one was supposed to be, if they ever had to hide.
Yeah, that would be this house.
Oh, okay.
Where my great-grandpa lived.
But the timing of, when they came, it just doesn't match up either with when it would have to be pre-Civil War,
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, these were the towns. This is where my grandma came from and my great-grandpa.
They're real close.
So they're very close together over there.
So they came
That's
here.
the way the house
Oh
looks
my gosh.
now. I know. It's so sad.
Well, I sent you the script because when I went out with him, it wasn't an official interview. It wasn't, he said I could record him, but it wasn't to be cataloged anywhere. Yep. And then we typed up the script, but there's all kinds of stories. Because this one he was talking about they used bootlegging money or something to build that house, and I'm like,
that nobody knows anything about that either. Or maybe later on that was something they didn't want to share.
Right?
I don't know. They called it the Maple Shade Farm.
Maple Shade Farm.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
That I found. That was a little tidbit I found. It's always fun to find those things.
Well, you were telling me, why was it that folks were coming from Czechoslovakia? What was going on over there at the time? I remember you tried telling me this before. Wasn't Russia, or was it Germany that was really trying to, push people around over there?
Yeah, and I know during the Cold War, my mom told me that my grandma was really frightened for her relatives that were still back in Czechoslovakia. She used to send them canned goods and all kinds of things during that time. And my mom and Rosie actually did go back to Czechoslovakia during that time.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, she said it was kind of scary that their bus got checked and crawled under, and they put mirrors underneath to make sure that people weren't smuggling people out, and so they did go back and visit. I was so glad they got
go back there to see the homeland.
Yep.
I was reading something where I thought it was the Russians that were forcing the Czechs to fight in their wars.
Yeah.
I don't know who they were fighting against, but.
Yeah.
And so that was where there was some anti-slavery sentiment among Czechs once they came here, because that's, they could sympathize.
Right, that would make sense. This is the house next door.
That's
Isabel's are now, and where.
Is anybody living in it now, or they just own the land?
I think so. It looked like my husband and I were up there not too long ago, and it was still very well kept, and that's it now.
Okay.
So, there's the old road. I remember as a child being terrified of that road because there was a steep drop off, and I was used to have to sit on the other side of the car as if that was going to do something. So I did take that picture when we drove up there not too long ago.
And they were Catholic, right? Are you Catholic? Are you still? Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's that one Catholic cemetery back outside of Hart that's kind of like...
Yeah, the
they
Peter,
move?
Paul, and Mary.
And there was like a church that got moved onto a farm out there, too.
Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah, my Johanna, my great-grandma, is buried in that cemetery.
Okay.
Actually, I have quite a few relatives buried in that cemetery.
Yeah.
And that some of my relatives, the Steinbar Stone Company, which is Bizant's now, some of my relatives own that stone company.
Okay.
And some of their stone went to the Capitol, built the Capitol.
So was that, I wonder if that was a skill back in Czechoslovakia, the quarrying?
It must have been, because a number of them were, and I always forget, Terry and Albert Steinbauer. Where are you, Albert?
That's cool. You have that index on the side. I didn't realize. Is that like a... Well, this is a different... Is this Ancestry or is this some other software?
It's software, but it links with Ancestry.
Oh, that's cool.
This is just easier to work
Right.
when you're entering things. And
like thousands of people in that tree.
Yeah. Albert is... Okay, here. Yeah, he was... pretty sure. Yeah, he was...
So he was born in 1849. Do you know what year he came? Sorry, that's kind of a pain.
No, that's okay. 1869. A lot of them a bunch of them must have come over at that time. And then Anton, I think he too... Yeah, he was involved in the stonework too.
Okay. I should have brought my one plat map thing. I think I scanned a deal and sent it to you. It was out of that one book where it showed like during the early 1860s. Because that was what was piquing my curiosity. If there's any opportunity, possibility that they were somehow involved with the Underground Railroad, it would have had to have been before the Civil War ended in 1865. But it looks like everybody came after that.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what?
Yeah, I know. It,
unless there were Steinbauers down in Winona and the stories got mixed up and it was actually about some folks actually living in Winona and not the ones at Hart.
Yeah. Here's Joe.
Okay.
Yep.
And he never married, never had kids.
No. I just remember, this is one of my favorite pictures of him. He was real into his apples. And that's Bobby, so that'd be his nephew and his half-brother, John.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I guess so for anybody that listens to this interview, like the way I got connected to you was through this Dan Zabel, who his family farmed land that was Steinbauer land previously?
Originally Steinbauer land. They're, John, my great-grandpa, John Steinbauer's land.
Okay, and then Joe was still alive when this Dan Zabel was a kid, and so he remembered Joe telling stories about the Underground Railroad coming through the Steinbauer property. Yep. So he, it's like what was just myth and what was... Yeah, I know.
Yeah, hand-me-down stories.
Right?
Joe, and then my great-uncle Joe, and my uncle Bobby Steinbauer, both stayed on the farm to help my grandma. She went with Marie in Czechoslovakia, but when she came here, she changed her name to Mary.
Okay.
Mary Steinbauer. So they helped her farm after my grandpa Conrad Steinbauer died.
Okay. Do you know, so they were members of the Catholic Church. Do you know, were they involved in other organizations or anything that you know of or you've come across?
My grandpa Conrad was very involved in local politics.
Okay.
He was on the, he was a commissioner and, he was very involved in... served as a member of the township board for 13 years and was its chairman. He was on some health board. I've seen stuff like that. So he was real involved in
active
things
in the
like
community.
that. Yeah.
Now they're on one of the Steinbauer properties? There's a cave.
Yes.
So what's the story behind that? Is that just like a root cellar kind of
I've
thing?
been trying to figure that out too. Let me find her, Rosie. I got a hold of her books and everything, and I scanned a lot of it, and she wrote. If I can find what it is.
What are those?
She must have wrote something, I don't know if it was a school project or something, so she wrote about their family.
Huh.
Actually, Steinbauer means stonemaker.
Oh, so, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. And one of these, she wrote about the cave. That's family. Notorious relatives. She talks about one of my great aunts as being a loose woman. Oh, here it is. There was a cave on Wilton Hayden's farm, now owned by Bollinger family. And once a man lived whom we think was once referred to as Crazy Steinbauer. We don't know anything about this, but do know there was a wife and children who left the area and settled in the Owatonna, Medford area where several Steinbauers.
So maybe that's the earlier Steinbauers that we're looking for.
Yeah, and so who Crazy Steinbauer was, I wish she had put a name.
Do you have any connection to any family out in Owatonna?
I have no. Although I have a cousin, Jane Froelich, who lives near that area, and I think she has been in contact with some of them. But she wasn't able to find out
much about that.
About the, I shared your emails and that with her because she's the other person in the family that does ancestry.
Okay.
And she wasn't able to come up with anything either.
Because that cave had the picture that you had sent me. It had like stonework around the entrance of it to like support the opening of it.
Right. It apparently was. I've got a picture of it
used
in
for
here
something.
somewhere.
I mean, probably cold storage.
And I actually met. Oh, that's Jacob Creaser. I met with Glenn Erdman, who graduated with me. We had a meeting for an upcoming class reunion, and he was very familiar with the cave and has been there many times. And he said he's actually been there, kind of clearing brush and that, trying to keep it protected a little bit. But he said it has filled in quite a bit.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like, whose property is that on now? Is that something you can get
under
permission to go?
Terry Bollinger and his son Travis, he told me.
Yeah, if
there's like 20 acres there.
Ever able to get permission.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to put on like a helmet and just see if there's anything carved in there.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes they would carve names or something in the rock.
Yeah. When I talked to Glenn, which was probably 2 weeks ago, I told him I would love to go there.
No kidding.
There it is.
Yeah. That's just
and this picture was taken in 2016, which is... that's a friend of my brother's, and so... and his sister. But yeah, it looked like it's... I mean, that's not natural.
No, for sure not. I mean, there's definitely...
And it sounded like it went in and then it went down again.
Yeah, that'd be neat to see.
So I don't know if you want to talk to Glenn Erdman. He would be a contact.
Okay, I should be writing this down. I mean, you know these people more than I do.
Yeah. He's a retired police officer. I gotta find my phone. He's a retired police officer from Winona.
Oh, okay.
And he lived right near there.
Okay.
contact information. I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
So that was called, like they were calling that the Steinbauer Cave, or what was it? Not really has a name.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe Glenn would know that.
Okay.
He didn't call it any certain name.
I'm sure I can find him in the phone book too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, I've got his email. Didn't write his phone number. Huh. But yeah, I have his email.
So,
but he's been there many times. So
do you have to hike way far in to get to it now?
He said that there's a kind of a road up above somewhere, and then because I don't walk real well anymore,
Right.
I broke my ankle badly,
Ooh.
and I haven't walked right since.
Well, if we could get you back there with an ATV.
Yeah, but
be
that's what he said. He thought the upper part was, he was going to check it out, and I haven't heard back from him. But he was really interested in and knew quite a bit about it and has been in it a bunch of times.
So this other thing she's mentioning,
right.
This stone foundation in the valley,
right,
on the old Steinbauer farm. We assume it was our great-grandfather, Gene Zabel, lives there now, across from the Henze farm, where Frazen family live now, where a Steinbauer once lived. Mm-hmm. House and barn, one building separated by a stone wall. Similar to European-style buildings. So when, is it Dan? Yeah, Dan Zabel took me out, kind of driving around.
Right.
He did point out somewhere down low, because he said something about, I don't know what Steinbauers came early in that the first year they lived down in that valley in like a dirt house or something, sod house kind of thing, before building up on the ridge. So would that be John, or who would that have been?
Probably, because when I don't work on this for a while, I lose track.
I totally understand.
When I'm working on it, I can go boom, boom, boom.
Right.
So he came over too in 1869. So they came over together. So maybe they both lived there. I don't know.
So that would be like your great-great-grandpa?
Yeah, my great-great-grandpa.
Wow.
And I've never been able to find a
And Anton was his brother or Conrad's brother?
Anton is my grandpa, John
John
Jr., I guess I call him, to keep him kind of, yeah. And I don't think this Loren...
Like any of them?
I don't know if they came over, because I don't have where they died or anything. That would be my great-great-great-grandpa. I don't know if... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the generation.
I just know this generation came over.
Okay.
I don't know that this one did.
So that generation, so John was born in 1821, and Adalbert Kreiser, is that how you say it?
Yes.
He was 1819.
Right.
Okay.
And they both came over. Yeah.
And we still have Kreisers.
There's a whole bunch of them in the area.
And then
they were large families.
I know your name's changed because you're married, but is there anybody with still the last name Steinbauer?
In Winona, there is. Well, you're probably too young. This Steinbauer shoe store.
Oh, okay.
Which was on, is it the main street of Winona, the downtown area.
Okay.
They, there was, it would be Max Steinbauer.
Okay. Do you guys ever have family reunions? Or?
No, we haven't. And, yeah, this Max Steinbauer owned the
shoe store?
Shoe store.
Okay. And you said what street was that on?
Just the main street down there.
Okay.
Where the old Choate building was, and see, I'm dating myself.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, they had a shoe store there, and some of their sons. I think this Ron Steinbauer is still in Winona, and his family.
Ron.
One of my daughters actually met, it was one of this generation's sons, which would be my daughter's age, at a party once. And when he said his name was Steinberg, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm probably related to you."
I think they didn't make out or anything.
Yeah. So I don't, yeah. So I think that they're still in Winona.
Okay.
I haven't, and of course it's hard to check a phone book anymore.
Right, I know.
So many people don't have landlines anymore, so...
So you said Rosemary, this is from something she had typed up?
Yes.
Is that going to go to a historical society or anything at some point?
Oh, I probably should.
Yeah, like the Rushford History Center even, just so it's like, you know, double archive just in case something happens to your stuff.
Yeah, it was quite a few pages long.
She must have wrote it fairly recently though, or like, I guess the Zeibels moved onto that land in the 50s or something, or 40s, because Dan was...
Yeah, I remember them living there, and I was born in 52, so, and...
Was Rosemary, like, ever interviewed by anybody?
I tried, unfortunately, you know, you just kick yourself.
And the days go by.
All the time growing up where I remember these relatives, you know, but when you're that young, it just doesn't mean a lot to you.
I totally get it.
And then later on, you're like, oh my God, that was my grandpa's sister and this, and I never asked him questions.
Right. Yeah.
I tried, when I got interested in ancestry, I tried interviewing my mom and Rosie. And I didn't get a lot, and I don't think their parents talked a lot about their history to them.
Sure.
Because when I talked to my mom, trying to get information about Czechoslovakia and that, she said she just didn't talk about it that much. And I know, Rosie wrote those, well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8-page thing about
I wonder what year she wrote those. Does it say? 2000?
Oh, 2001.
Oh.
Information from...
Somebody must have interviewed her.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Dad, mom.
Oh.
One of the kids.
One of the kids. Okay, great.
Oh, no, she's saying Dad, Conrad, Mom, Mary.
Okay.
Never mind, sorry.
Yeah, no, information from... Well, maybe she just...
Wrote it down.
Wrote that herself, information.
That's awesome. If more people would do that.
Right, yeah. But I do have that printed out, too.
Okay.
That information.
Yeah, because that little bit about the cave for sure is like a nice little clue. What's it? She was politically minded, a strong Democrat.
Yeah. She didn't speak English very well.
Okay.
She spoke broken English. I did go up when the Hart store was, when they were having that auction, or that whatever they were selling it off. I did go up there that day and talk to the sisters that were selling it. Are you familiar with the Hart store?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've not been inside there. But
Yeah. But they were...
So how long ago was this?
Maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
I did talk to those sisters, and they remembered my grandma, Mary, and they too said she spoke broken English, but they just remember her as being a very strong woman, and they said education was extremely important to her, and education and family, including her family here and back in Czechoslovakia.
Were priorities.
Yep. But she was, I wish I had inherited her cooking ability. I didn't. My mom was a really good cook. But
so I see. So your dad's last name was Johnson, or what am I seeing up there?
yes.
Under there. So was he Scandinavian then?
Yes, he's Norwegian.
Okay. So was his family here a long time too?
Yes. Yep. They lived right in Rushford, and then his mom was a Hatling, so she was Norwegian also.
Okay.
And Mandius was born here. His father, John Akri, was born in Norway.
Okay.
And there was only one sibling that kept the Akri name, and everybody else changed their name to Johnson.
Huh. I suppose following the old John's son is Johnson.
Family tree would have been easier to do if they had kept the Akri.
Yep. I know that gets tricky.
Yeah, it does.
Wow. So how many siblings do you have then?
I have 2 brothers.
Okay. And do they live around here? Or?
They both live in Rushford.
Oh, that's neat.
They're retired in Rushford now. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Holger name, did you know Carl Holger?
Yeah,
or
yes,
Dave?
yep.
So Carl's my father-in-law, so
Okay.
John, their son John is my husband.
Okay, sure.
So, like, John and I met at Forestville State Park. We both worked at Mystery Cave and gave cave tours. And I was researching a program, this was back in like 2008, legends and lore of the, kind of the Forestville area. And one of the stories I was looking at was, it wasn't the Underground Railroad in particular, it was just kind of like during the Civil War. There was like, I had heard in St. Charles there was such divisiveness, kind of like political times now, where you're like, if you were not necessarily pro-South, but you were not necessarily against slavery.
Yeah.
And so they kind of like had division lines. So there's a lot of towns where you'll see Division Street.
Okay.
And
so, you're saying we someday will get past this again?
I hope so, right?
Yeah, so do I.
Hopefully it doesn't take a civil war for that to happen. But when I was researching that, I remembered a story someone had told me about the Underground Railroad up by Plainview. And so John at the time was just a friend. We weren't together or anything. And I was mentioning that. He goes, yeah, Rushford has an Underground Railroad stop too. And I was like, what? And he's like, supposedly the old Lutheran church parsonage, blah, 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 blah. So I kind of filed that away for later. And then that's where kind of Laura comes in with that house, the old Bemke, whatever house across from the mill.
Yeah, there was a room in there that was kind of
and
a
too bad,
room.
like after the flood, they kind of had to, because they had to gut the basement. But Laura said that somebody from, I thought she said somebody from the Historical Society came down and like authenticated it before they tore it all out. So somewhere, but the homeowners didn't want the public knowing, because you'd probably get a ton of people like, hey, can we see your room in the basement? So then there's other little whispers in Houston and other places of similar things, similar houses, but there's no primary sources like letters saying, yes, we were, harboring freedom seekers or anything. So it's all just kind of a myth. But
I had heard that for many, many years.
That's what Carl said,
the
too.
Bemke house.
He grew up hearing those stories as well. Now,
Carl is just a couple years younger than me.
Okay. Supposedly, there was like a Dar girl who wrote a paper in the 90s as part of they went up to like compete in the state. I don't know if it was like, if there's some sort of competition where you do a history competition or something. And so there's a paper, but the Rushford History Center couldn't find a copy of it. They said if I reached out to Dar, the dad, who's like, is he a realtor or something? Or he's that he might be able to help me find that. But I'm just curious what they knew back in the 90s that nobody else in town seems to know. Because they did a whole paper on the Underground Railroad in Rushford.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm curious. There's information here and there, but it's not been organized very well. And I know they're trying to put stuff together in Rushford, and Laura's working on some of that. But
Here's another picture of the Steinbeer farm, so you can see the
road there.
The other farm was right here, and this road went to Hart, and then this road went down into the valley.
Okay. And like most of these outbuildings are gone now, right? It's just the house, isn't it? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember when we were there. I know I was just zeroing in on the house, I guess. So.
Wow, we got
these are all
photos.
From Rosie's.
That's awesome. She kept good scrapbooks.
Scrapbook. I think her daughter put it together. But,
oh my goodness.
That's, it would have been my grandma's nieces in Czechoslovakia.
Oh, wow.
And this Marie just passed away recently. She was quite elderly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's cool. It's traditional.
Yeah,
costume.
it's her son that I'm in contact with, Milan.
Okay. So do they speak English?
Yes, very well. And their daughter-in-law is from Ohio. got married. Their son.
Okay. Oh, so, baby, that's sad.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's the farm. Or no, that's the Colvinson farm.
Okay.
I was just seeing if there's any other pictures that rang a... I do have kind of my feelers out there with some of my other relatives asking if they've heard anything. Okay. I have a cousin in Ohio, actually this gal, Opal.
Okay.
And her father was a half-brother of my grandpa.
Okay.
Bill Steinbar. And I was just going to see if I got any message back from her. Nope.
Not yet.
Opal. Yeah, I keep checking.
So,
see if she had heard anything through the grapevine.
So I'm trying to think that Seth Creaser, so this friend of mine, she's been doing a lot of research on Underground Railroad stuff for like the past 20 years. She's out of Winona, and she was out driving along trying to look at the route that might have been through Hart, and then when she was out doing that, she ran into that Seth Creaser because he was checking the mail, so she just stopped to talk to him.
Sure.
And so she's asking him some questions, but she also participates in the Civil War Roundtable, and she was at a meeting a couple years ago of that, and there's a guy from Rushford at that. And I don't know, they're talking about the colored troops or something. And he brought up how there was a black community up around Hart. There was a cemetery where they had been buried. So then when she was talking to this Seth Creaser, she kind of asked about that. And he said, oh, yeah, you know, and he could kind of, well, so he's 80-something now. So I don't know when he would have been born.
Okay.
But he must have heard stories. No, he said it was in the 50s when that got plowed under, that cemetery. Oh. And he kind of whispered it, like you know, he wasn't like bragging about it by any means.
Yeah.
So she went in, actually, to the county recorder's office, and they spent a couple days tracking it down, and they did find proof that there was a cemetery there. So when you exit off of I-90 and you're coming towards Rushford, it's like, I don't know, mile down, half mile down on the left. I think the Brands own the land now. There's a sign that's a pro-life sign there. Okay. And a fire number. And it's a really weird spot for a fire number. It's just a little parcel.
Okay.
That's the spot. And technically, it was never sold to the Brands, but they farm it. So, like, yeah, she was like,
one of those things that, that you could get away with during those days that it wouldn't anymore.
And there was, like, there was a letter, there were several, actually, 2 or 3 letters issued by the county that said, cease and desist, like, don't plow over the cemetery, and like nothing ever came of that. Yeah. So that spot there is very interesting, but to get somebody saying he remembered it, and so I would love to talk with him, but it sounds like I don't know if the family's going to want it.
Yeah, we did this that we shouldn't have done. Yeah,
even though it's not there, you know, it was generations.
And that's probably why the Underground Railroad wasn't.
Right.
People aren't, I mean, we're not going to say, well, yeah, we're part of the Underground Railroad.
Right, no,
at that time, because, and then by the next generation, it's kind of gotten lost.
Right.
So this is my great-grandpa and his second wife, Lizzie.
Okay.
Dvorak. And so they had 3 children together. That isn't all of them, but no, that's Conrad, my grandpa there.
Okay. Holy smokes. So they were all...
This is that old Creaser farm that just off of 43 up there.
Okay.
I had a better picture of it than that. But there's Joe again on his tractor.
So that was a thing that said 1897 on that stone building, I think it...
Yep.
Yeah. J.K. So is that...
John Creaser home. Yep. And I do have... I thought I took other pictures. I know I have other pictures of the whole house somewhere.
Do you know the Capuchmans at all? Because it shows on the plaque going way back. They were living over in that way too.
Yeah, they're related somehow.
Or Capuchman, or however you say it. Is that a Czech name as well?
I think so. So there's a whole bunch of Kafusmans here.
Okay. Because Jessica teaches, or she works at Winona State University. I've met her.
Oh, okay.
And actually, on one of...
There's Chapleskis. Okay, they would be... No, that's a different Joanna Creaser.
Oh, God, all these same names.
I know. Part of the was just... You've got brothers that have married Creasers, and so that they're double related somehow.
Yeah, and then the same names too, like first names. It's like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody was named John. There was... I don't know how they all go back.
So one of the census records actually shows the Kapusman family is housing one of the black daughters from those black families that were living around Hart at their house, like as a boarder. So, I mean, they must have been pretty open-minded.
Right.
Back in that was like late 1800s. And we've actually tracked down over a dozen like biracial families that were living right around Hart, which is interesting. You don't think of Hart as being very diverse.
So that Adelbert and Carolina, who are my great grandparents, they had a son Wenzel who married a Dvorak again, and then their daughter married a Kafusman.
So that Pfeiffer name there on that Carolina, is that German or what? Interesting.
She came from Czechoslovakia
as well. Okay.
A lot of their names, they're so close in that area that. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how the Kafusmans get in there.
Huh.
They're related.
That guy that says 1819, that Adelbert.
Yeah.
Does he come?
He came in.
That's cool that you have all that right there. 1863.
1863, when he was 44 years old with his family.
Okay. I wonder if he went right to Hart or if he was somewhere else first.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the route my grandma came, but the rest of them I don't.
Well, I wonder if that Creaser would have any information about his, like, this guy. Or
probably. There's an extensive... Somebody's done a lot of work on the family tree there.
Yeah, I thought I saw there's a guy that he's... Like, contact him if you have information on the Creasers, basically.
Yeah, if you go online and Google Creaser, there's a...
They have, like, a website.
Yeah, right. There's an extensive tree that they have done. And they're big Catholic families.
Okay. So they're farming, they're stonemasons. And then you've got some that are in Winona, more closer to this time period now, that are merchants, like shoe store. And I see there's even a Zabel like meat market in Winona.
Oh, okay.
Been there a long time. It looks like an old sign. I'm not sure if it's the same Zabel family.
Right. There's a lot. I think there's a bunch of the Kafusmans that are buried in that cemetery near Hart, that Peter, Paul, and Mary cemetery. Creasers and Dvoraks and Kafusmans. And
that's interesting because it's so like off the beaten track.
Yeah, it's a really cool.
Somebody must have obviously donated the land.
Cemetery.
Yeah, it's got some big trees in there. So the Hart store, you said it was two sisters. Were they selling the property or they were cleaning out what was inside of it?
I think they were selling everything inside of it.
Is that this? Or no?
Yep. Wolfram.
Are they still around?
They might even still be living there.
So they're two sisters?
Yes.
And they're like age-wise, are they older?
They're elderly.
Okay.
I would say 80s maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped and talked to them that day. I didn't get as much information as I had hoped, but some.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with them. So did they grow up on that site, or?
Yeah, they did. Looks like one of them is Mary. Let's see if I can find another name. Jane Wolfram. Well, she's still a Wolfram.
So
I think their mother lived there until she was very elderly, and I think the daughters took turns coming and staying with her.
Huh. So it first opened in 1877. Holy moly. I wonder if... That's the thing, Dan Zabel, it seemed like he knew everybody still around there.
Sure.
So maybe I'll see if I can work through him, because I don't want to just cold call people like, hey, you don't know me.
Yeah. So it looks like Mary and Jane are their names.
Okay, yeah, it'd be neat to
And Jane still goes by Wolfram. I don't know.
Okay.
What if Mary...
If the one's a widower.
Right.
Widow. What do you call that? Is it a widow? A widow.
Widow. I don't think it says
a whole
Mary's
lot
name.
more.
Just...
Yeah, I saw that the Bemke house was for sale. It's like ridiculous. It was like $500,000 or something.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have just gone on a showing with a realtor just to snoop around. But I saw all the pictures online. Like it looks like it was totally remodeled anyways.
Oh.
But I would love to interview her, but I don't think she wants to talk to people. Laura's talked to her and said she was really hard to even get to talk because I don't think they wanted to.
Right.
Well, she's not living there anymore. Maybe she'd be more willing to talk about
Yeah, true.
It's just like these people in Rushford are passing away that have these, any what's left of these stories.
Yeah, I have really tried to get a hold of Rob Bunke. He's 90-some.
Oh my gosh.
And he's a father of one of my brother's friends.
Oh, okay.
And I have tried calling him. My brother tried emailing him. I left him a text message, and he's just... And I don't know if he's started failing or something, but normally he would be one that would get back right away. And he was a bunkie.
Okay.
And he lived right in that area and knew everybody, and he would be a perfect person to
talk with.
But I can't get a hold of him.
Well, even like when Laura interviewed this Billy Joe.
Yeah, I know Billy Joe.
It's too bad that couldn't have been recorded, and it eventually maybe with the caveat once you pass away we can archive it if you don't want people bothering you while you're alive.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where the...
Yeah.
At least everything I'm recording is going to be archived.
I know. I was director of nursing at Good Shepherd in Rushford for many years, and she was one of my nurse aides, and she's still working there.
Oh, are you serious?
At Good Shepherd home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So she might be willing to be interviewed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk to anybody that's open to just...
Yeah.
And even a lot of times people say, I don't have anything that's going to help. But it's like, well, once we start talking, something might lodge. You might remember
that's why I was hoping when I called that cousin of mine that used to live on the old farm that he would have even a little tidbit. But he said, I would love to be able to tell you something, but just...
No.
He said, I'll think about it if something comes up, but...
Okay. Even just if there was this extended multiracial family around Hart, people have had heard stories of there being black people around Rushford.
Yeah.
Because they were there for 30 years before they left. They came before the Civil War, and by the end of the 1880s they were gone. Or they were married into where they just the descendants were so white you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But you don't hear... Seth Kreezer did mention it to my friend, but that's the only person. And then this guy that came to the Civil War Roundtable knew about it too.
Right.
So I'm just curious, where those stories are.
Yes.
Or they're just lost to time. I don't know.
Yeah, or who would... I don't know if Willie Bunke is still alive in Rushford too. He was was quite old and lived in that area. And I always meant to go talk to him, and you go, I got to do that, and then you put something off, and then pretty soon it's too late.
Yep.
With my mom and Rosie too, identifying pictures, both of their vision. By the time I got really heavy into Ancestry, their vision wasn't very good and their memory wasn't as good, and I was like, it blew it. You get frustrated with yourself. I have a big tote of stuff here too. Ignore that. I'm in the middle of dividing my family pictures into different books for each of my kids.
That's awesome.
My husband said, "Why do you take on these enormous projects?"
Well, your children will appreciate that.
Hopefully.
Wow.
This is all old. I inherited
all kinds of good stuff. Wow.
I've got.
Oh my goodness.
All kinds of.
So you're kind of the historian for the family now?
I guess, and I got to figure out who I pass it on to.
Yeah, that's happened to me for our family too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to send copies of everything to the Minnesota Historical Society, so it's like doubly
I should go through what I have, and because I'm sure some of this too would be somewhere. Those are all.
Did you read up on how the Steinbauer quarry, like the rocks at the state capitol?
Yeah,
came from there?
I have some of the
so
articles. Cool. That showed up in some of my searches too.
That's so neat.
It's in the wrong. That needs to go on the Johnson one. But yeah, I have those. Those are.
Wow, that's cool that people held on to stuff.
But I was going to try find my scribbles. I know I gave my mom and Rosie just this thing to fill out. This is what I gave my mom to fill out.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's anything there that... And she just
neat.
wrote out some, so I did get some information from her before she passed.
When did she pass away?
2016.
Okay. Well, that's neat that she took time to do that.
Yeah,
she was able to do
so
that.
I have some of it, and I gave the same to Rosie too, but I don't think I got as much from her. My mom had done a pretty good job of recording a lot, and some of it is in Czech.
Oh, wow.
So, some of the records.
So she grew up speaking that in the house?
Well, when she was young, she said later on she kind of lost the ability to do. Well, no, that's not in Czech. But some of the records were, and I do have her old Czech dictionary, but it's really slow going. Yeah, see, that's all.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
This is from volume 3 of 5 volumes.
Yeah, I know.
J.M. Steinbauer, Hayfield, Minnesota. Who is that? Do you know?
No.
From Hayfield.
That's probably, I'm guessing, very old. But yeah, this is what the Creaser.
Holy schmoly.
That's what you'll find. You'll find that online.
Okay. Dang.
Yeah, I kind of grouped most of this. There's a bunch of Lekovitzes too.
Lekovitz?
Lekovitz. Yeah. Although they moved out of the area. Yeah, this is one check too.
Well, that's neat. Somebody's doing all this work because my family, I'm having to put some of this stuff together from scratch.
Yeah, they're. Every once in a while, you can go on and on and on and hardly find anything, and then all of a sudden you'll find bingo.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
So, are you from the area?
I grew up in Houston.
Okay. How did you two meet?
We have a storybook, Annie. We met in
High school
at a dance at the old Gulfview, which doesn't exist anymore. And then we dated in high school and broke up. Both got married. Both ended up divorced. And then one day he just showed up on my doorstep here. And now we've been married 25 years.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, you never know.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to, take some maturing and then try the second
That's
time.
right.
I'm divorced and remarried too.
Okay, second time's
Right?
Second time's
The charm.
That's all my check stuff.
Oh,
I thought I had a. Finding it.
Needless to say, we haven't had any dining guests here for dinner.
It's been a while. You got a lot of projects on that table.
Yes, I have this project going. I have my ancestry project going. I'm working on this big cross stitch thing for my daughter. That's for months. And I take on big projects.
Well,
yes.
that's good.
So I don't know what else.
No, I think I got some good, background on your family and connections to other relatives that might have stories to add too.
Okay. So yeah, part of it I still need to keep working and working and working. Like I said, sometimes you just go a long time without finding anything, and then for my Czech family, I got this message through Ancestry from a gal from Dublin who was working on her husband's tree for him, who's somehow related to me, and she gave me a contact, and I got a whole bunch of information.
Nice.
So it's just one of those.
Yes.
You can work and work and work and hardly find anything, and then all of a sudden.
And you hit.
bingo.
I know, that's how I think like Ancestry set up that, because then you get like a high almost, and then you're addicted again.
Yeah. I kind of go in streaks of working, and you get these hints via email.
Right.
And sometimes one of those hints will take me 10 minutes, and sometimes they don't pan out at all.
Sometimes.
And then sometimes I'll get a hint, and 4 hours later, I'm still tracing back. And that Find a Grave is a wonderful site.
Yeah, that's been awesome.
I've found a lot of information through there. And
Yep. Well, I appreciate your time. I'll keep you copied. I'll probably reach out to Zabel again.
Sure.
Because we were going to try to do something in the June, and then it didn't happen. And like you said, now that once the fields are harvested, but then it's hunting season too.
Yeah.
But I'll talk with him.
But early spring or fall are the better times. You don't have so many weeds to walk through.
Plus, he knows these landowners. Like, he gets permission.
Right.
So if they know we're going to be out there, then hunting shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, let me get that email. I'll go in.